Welcome to Therapy, Tech, and Takeout. We're an entrepreneur and therapist exploring how technology is shaping mental health and what it means for how we live, connect, and care for ourselves. I'm Tony Teixeira. I'm the therapist.
And I'm Jackie Toll. I'm the entrepreneur. How's it going, Tony? What's your week been like?
Getting over being sick.
Yay!
So, yeah, just really bouncing back from that. I just felt like that the energy levels just really crashed for me, and trying to stay on top of work, which I realized at some point was a mistake. So I did a lot of resting because the
Good.
body needed it, and I really needed to listen to myself. So it was a good lesson and a good reminder how important that is.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we get reminded that we have to practice what we preach. I love that. I don't love that you got sick, but I love that you at least had that realization. Right? Exactly. If we can learn, that's at least it's the silver lining.
How are you doing? What are you vibing this
Good.
week?
Today it was abject terror. I had a photo shoot for the local business magazine come to my office and take pictures. And I was kind of like, you could take pictures of all the equipment and stuff. And they're like, how about just you standing against this wall? I'm like, oh no. But the photographer was awesome. And she definitely helped put me at ease and made me feel, pumped up my confidence and stuff. So I had a lot of fun actually doing it. But oh man, was my heart racing.
By the way, I love the green.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I'm glad you wore green today. I think that's a really good color for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I know I went and polled people. I asked my business partner, Scott, who did all of the decorating inside of our office and stuff and has a good eye. I'm like, what do I need to wear? You see what I wear? Tell me. He's like, okay, this for your hair. And I was like, perfect. And then this morning, my 21-year-old was in the kitchen grabbing breakfast before I headed to work. And I said, okay, you're my stylist. What do I need to do? And she gave me those last minute tweaks. So yeah, it's always fun to get to.
Can't wait to see it's going to be an article.
Yeah, yeah. I'll definitely share it.
Okay.
Well, I'm excited for today too, because we have a super interesting topic.
I'm super excited. Today we're joined by Dr. Julie Merriman. She's a licensed professional counselor, educator, author, and host of the Sexy After 50 podcast. Yeah, sounds like fun, right? Julie's work focuses on helping women reconnect with themselves by understanding the powerful role the nervous system plays in stress, burnout, intimacy, and desire. And I really think this is going to be a fascinating episode. I love being able to have this conversation with you, Julie. So glad you're here. Exploring how modern life and especially technology is shaping who we are, our mental health, our relationships. We talk about that, but today we get to talk about sex too. So I'm excited about that. So Julie, welcome to our little world over here. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. It is so great to be here, and I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm sorry you didn't had a little spell. And girl, I just did a photo shoot myself. I feel you on the, not me. Don't take a picture of me.
Anything else? So we get our confidence, right?
Right.
Which is an important thing to do. No, I'm really so interested in this. I appreciate you reaching out, Julie, because learning more about the work that you do and just how it aligns with everything that I hear from my friends and when we're talking, I mean, it's right up our alley. So I'm excited to dive in and get some practical tips and some information for users. I know we mentioned some of your stuff, and we'll give you some time at the end so that we can direct people to all of your great resources. But you do have on your website a free tutorial. Is that what you would call it?
It's a desire reset guide, but yes,
Yeah.
definitely a tutorial then.
That's fantastic. So what are you seeing sort of at this intersection of tech and intimacy? Are you seeing places where tech is helpful for folks, or is it mostly, are you seeing it as something that's kind of separating folks rather than bringing them together?
Such a double-edged sword, right? Such a double-edged sword. But I would say, everyone, we talk a lot about attention spans and how it's disrupting that, but I'm not hearing folks talk about that underlying layer of what it's doing to our nervous system and how that impacts our sex life. I mean, it impacts our life because in essence, with all this technology, we're on there's this low grade threat that's going on all the time. We are activated constantly.
Mhm.
And I'm 63, girl. I remember when my phone was attached to the wall, and
Yeah.
my mama sent us out and didn't want us back in the house until after 5. Nobody had she'd have a clue where we were, but we were out just being and doing. Even in my young career, we were being and doing. That's very hard to do these days because we are just tethered to electronics, tethered to technology, and that impacts our nervous system. Our nervous system never gets really that rest that we used to get. We're always monitoring and feeling like we need to answer. And I know in my private practice, I'm also a professor. I'm a chair at a university, so I get an email. I'm like, oh my God, I got to I got to
Right.
answer that. And that doesn't just turn off automatically. So it really does impact your bedroom experience. Because if I'm braced from all that's being asked of me, and I'm going to admit I'm a chronic overfunctioner who is in recovery. I will admit that, but that's going to show up in the
Mhm.
bedroom. There's not a switch to go from braced to just softened and receiving. And we really need to be soft and receptive in the bedroom. But that's
Mm,
what I mean, that's, I think, an underlying piece of technology
mhm.
that we don't really talk about enough.
Yeah, so let's slow that down and like really just be with that for a moment because all those, we talk about all the pings that we hear on our phone, right? They're always interrupting us, but also the notion that it's in the background all the time and it could happen at any moment, that ping, or the feeling we better check the email and that rush to that we live in this world where because people are accessible then we feel pulled to respond. We're taking all of that into the bedroom with us.
Absolutely.
Not being able to let go, let down and feel safe enough to connect. Yeah. That's huge. That's really big.
It's huge, and safety has everything to do with it. I do a lot of somatic and chakra psychology in my work, and because if you look at the vagus nerve, it looks like a bunch of spaghetti on an anatomy chart. But and I'm trained as a yoga therapist, if you look at it at chakras, that gives my ladies I work with a very, I don't want to say concrete, but much more so than looking at where all your vagus nerve goes. And the first thing we start working on is that root chakra and that sacral chakra. But our root chakra is where our safety comes in. And when we are constantly bombarded by all this technology and, we tend to want to serve, we tend to want to function for others, that keeps our body in a place that does not feel safe, especially safe enough to open up and be receptive to the fun stuff that happens in the bedroom.
Mm, mm. I mean, there's sex and there's intimacy. They're different, but you kind of need intimacy, and I think especially for women, I think we connect sexually with partners because of intimacy, right? And being able to like having that low level bracing in the background. What I'm hearing from you is that can really interfere with that being present enough, safe enough to let the guard down so that we can enjoy it. Because then, like, what the message I'm getting here is like, it's not going to be as much fun. Because,
Right.
right?
Well, yes, and we're constantly, and we don't even realize we're doing it, but there's a monitoring going on because we've been in this low level threat state for not days, we're talking years. I,
Here's,
for me, it's probably 30 years of my career, that I've
Oh,
been
yeah.
at some point monitoring my to-do list. By God, am I going to be late to a meeting? Did I forget to get the kids snacks for soccer practice? Oh my God, my mom-in-law is coming Friday. I got to dust. All these beyond tech.
mhm.
And our body stays so braced that pelvic floor, I mean, think about it. When we're braced, ears are, shoulders go up to ear. These are my ears up and we're braced, but our pelvic floor is braced as well. And that really, I mean, we're not getting the blood to our genitals that we need to get. And our brain is very selfish with energy. If we're in a sympathetic state all the time, we've told our brain, well, we are in fight or flight. We're in survival here. So pleasure and desire, that goes offline. And for some gals I work with, it's been offline for 20 years. Libido is still there. It's just layered under so much responsibility. And like I work for a college that's in Iowa. I live in Texas. So technology is my bread and butter. I am always, but where I'm going with that is it could be your job, just that I'm an online professor, or it could be I'm a medical doctor, and I remember the beepers the beepers
Oh,
used
yeah.
to have,
Yeah.
Well, we're constantly hooked to a beeper on some level. If it's a phone notification, if it's an email, whatever it might be, that is really telling your body, no, we are in survival mode. I'm not able to just work through this stress cycle and relax and be present with my partner. And you're absolutely right. Women, it's intimacy is huge. Intercourse is great, but intimacy is the big part. And when we stay in the survival mode for so long, it's very hard for desire to come back online. And I think it's also important to note, and this, I love researching for my podcast. Just such a nerd, but I've come across research recently that it was reintroduced to me. Only about 10% of women have spontaneous desire where we wake up going, want me some of that. That
Interesting. That's
isn't
low,
it though?
right? That's
It's
lower than I would
That's
have
very,
really low.
suspected. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
very low.
Across all ages, or is there a
Yeah,
specific? Oh, wow.
across all ages, but especially as we get older. But still, it's just not for a woman. It's contextual. We're
Yeah.
about 85 to 90% of us. It's about responsive desire, especially as we get older. And I know at 63. I'm responsive, but my husband of almost 40 years knows that at 20, I was like, ooh, here we are, honey. But at 63, we know it takes a little longer, and that's fine. Nothing's wrong. My body's not broken. But we have to really understand we've got to get that stress cycle regulated, get that stress cycle closed, our nervous system regulated so we can arrive in the bedroom and enjoy intimacy and connect. And that's another thing technology really gets in the way of. Think of the last time you were at a restaurant. I mean, I look at a family of 5 and everyone is like this instead of looking at each other. That gets in the way of intimacy. I mean, I'm the kid, you know what I mean? It gets in the way of
Yeah.
intimacy. Heck, I see a couple, a man and a woman at a table playing with their phones instead of talking to each other.
Yeah.
That that connection is foreplay. I mean, that's important as we want to arrive in the bedroom, open to receptivity, receiving the yumminess of intimacy. And an assignment I do give, and it uses technology, but the couples I work with, sexting is an assignment I will give because that's a fun way to get intimacy up and going and having that person on your mind throughout the day. But I do warn her or him, don't say it if you don't mean it, because
That's probably a good warning.
yeah. Technology is important, but it can sure keep us braced where we don't need to be braced at times.
Know about y'all, but my Instagram feeds and Facebook ads are littered with things saying they're going to calm my vagus nerve, regulate my cortisol, all of these things, and they all feel like scams. Is there anything out there that you say, oh, these are things that work, or is it really just doing the work of the somatic work and the yogic stuff and the breath work and all that good, tried and true?
Yeah. Jackie, that's such a good question. You're right. Right now, it is the thing right now, right? Let's talk about our vagus nerve and getting our
Yeah,
nervous system
cortisol
regulated.
resets. Yeah.
Yeah, all the things. The things we can do are free. The things we really can do, they are the things, that book, We Learned Everything We Need to Know back in kindergarten. It's so
Mhm.
true
Good one.
because
Yeah.
when I work with my ladies, I'll say something as simple as, I want you to take a deep breath. In for 4, we'll say hold for 6, but when you exhale for 8, because that vagus nerves needs a longer exhale to reset, but you make noise. It's so fun in a room full of women that sounds like an orgasm. They're all just together, but your vagus nerve runs right through that throat chakra, and that helps to help tone that vagal nerve. It's free. I
Yeah.
mean, it's and if especially Tony in between clients to be able to reset and get ready, do that 45, 50-minute hour, take those 10 minutes to take care of yourself, get that damn note out of the way, but
Right, for
do
sure.
some breathing. I have my gals, because I work with a lot of therapists and a lot of medical doctors, but I have them pretend like they're sitting behind a glass wall, not that they're being want to separate from the person, but I want to give them a barrier so that those emotions just don't splash all over you, because our brain doesn't know those are our emotions and we react to it. So she's, we're present, but there's this glass wall. And in between sessions, she's taking a squeegee and she's cleaning that glass wall. And
I love that.
it's almost like smudging, but getting everything out, resetting, maybe even, and I'm going to stand up, but maybe even when we stand up and, well, that's not helpful at all, but you stand up and you really focus on your soles of your feet to feel yourself grounded. We walk around these beautiful floating heads of confidence that are no more embodied than a man in the moon. I picture all these. In fact, when I'm at the airport, I'll look for balloons, floating above souls, because we just have forgotten how to be embodied. And I'm sure, Tony, you see this with your clients. A lot of people work very hard to not be embodied because they don't want to deal with what's going on, emotions or such. And technology, that doom scrolling, is a great way to get away from that as well. But
avoidance, yes. We can get away from those difficult emotions.
Yes, I'm going to do this instead of that. Yeah. But the more we can get embodied and the more we can understand why we're feeling what, that helps to regulate. I mean, I just cannot underscore enough all the somatic things we need to do to help regulate that nervous system is free. Walk outside. I live on a ranch in Texas. Well, I've got baby goat. My yoga goats have been having babies. So cute.
Well, that's adorable.
So cute. So when I've been in this office too long, I take a deep breath. I walk outside. I pet a baby goat. I let vitamin D regulate my emotions. I feel the ground under my feet. And I also teach my ladies to do a full body scan from head to toe. We're scanning each chakra. I mean, I know that helps her understand, oh, it's my throat. My throat feels real tight. Well, a lot of us have swallowed our truth for so many years that our throat is very tight. We don't even know the truth anymore. We've had obligatory sex to keep our partners happy. So our body, our sacral and root centers, like, hell, I don't know what you want. We fake an orgasm just to get it over.
Move things along.
To keep the other's ego up. And I mean, we have lied to our body for so long and lived away from it for so long. To get re-embodied is the first thing we have to do to learn how to regulate that nervous system. I just took my department at the university through a KCREP accreditation visit, which is from hell. I don't recommend it for anyone. But I was so dysregulated. My sweet, loving husband, he touched me. He just was just a touch. And I went, because my mind went, not one more thing. We're not having sex, And I thought,
I don't have time for you.
I'm dysregulated. Something is not right. I've learned to know that about myself now. But a lot of the gals I work with don't recognize that. They just are living in this state of threat and not understanding what's underneath all that.
Could you... Sorry, go ahead.
No, we were talking about really the downside of technology. And I'm wondering if we can access it, though, to be helpful in any way. Are there any ways to?
It's just like booze. It's everything in moderation. I don't know. I went there, or chocolate or anything. Let's go with chocolate. Anything in moderation first. And, there's some real fun sex toys out now that are tied to technology that we didn't have access to years ago, just to start there. I'm real close to Fort Worth, Texas. I send my couples there because there's some beautiful upscale sex stores where you don't feel like you need a bath when you leave. It's woman owned, and there's a sex therapist on staff, and you can really have an experience as you go in. So that's one place that, and sex toys are not always about genitals. It's about getting pleasure back online. I often have couples start with the neck or limbs, just because she has been dysregulated for so long. She's even forgot what pleasure feels like, that her body is even allowed to have pleasure. So that's one place. There's some fun sex toys out now. The HRVs and the devices that can measure our stress. I use Pulsetta. It's a device that I wear on my neck that activates my
one of the ones I've seen in my Instagram feed.
I have not seen this one.
And I'm super interested. Do you like it? I mean, you use it, you wear it.
I love it. Instead of having a glass of wine, I put on my Pulsetta, And I'm bottle feeding this little baby goat right now. So we change his diaper. He has a bottle and he sits with me and I pet him or my cat. Yes, it really, you can feel it. The vibrations on your neck, it really hits that vagal nerve right there. I mean, there's others. That's just off the top of my head, but the HRVs that are measuring our output, our stress and stuff, those are amazing technologies for us. What I've noticed with my gals that really are struggling to get intimacy back online is that and we wouldn't know this, that HRV will give her data before she even has words for that stress. And we can see that she's not really coming out of that stress cycle. She's staying elevated. And so that is great information. It's not just a feeling. She actually has some data to pull and go up, and we can explore what was going on that day. Where were you feeling that in your body? They hate it when I ask that. Where are you feeling it in your body? I don't know. I don't know.
HRV is so important. I use that when I'm training for races, running. And my running coach had introduced me to it. So, and what's weird about it is you wake up in the morning, you feel perfectly fine. You think would think I'm going to train today. And then I look at my HRV and it's like, no, this needs to be a rest day. This is a recovery day for you because your stress level was really high.
Yeah.
So it's really not something we think we know. We're stressed out and we need to do that. But you might feel perfectly fine and your body's really not showing you in the ways that you think it usually is that it needs to recover. So I like some of that technology too. There's some apps out there that you can, you really have to you have to do it like daily so you can get enough data for it to be important enough to use. But I love that. Yeah.
Does noticing that help you get better at recognizing it?
You're asking me? No.
Yeah. No. Okay. So there's just some things where it's like,
because
you wouldn't know.
Yeah, sometimes yes, but sometimes no. Sometimes I'd feel like, okay, I did my workout, I have a rest day, and now I can work out, but I needed another rest day. And that was not something I was really
that you would have
aware
felt.
of.
Yeah.
But it really changes things. So I love how you're using that with women in therapy, to help them understand their bodies better and their capacity for that day, what they can take in more of. Like I think of it in terms of exercise, but it's like really what you can take in more of in your environment and what you can do with that.
Absolutely, without guilt, because women so often want to feel guilty or shamed or blamed about, oh, I should be doing this today, but I'm just lazy. No, you're not lazy. Look at the data. You need this rest. You need to work on closing that stress cycle. I mean, it gives her more information, yes, for making decisions, but also we want to blame ourselves for things, or that heart chakra just anyway. So yes, letting her to have hard data to make decisions on. Jackie, that's amazing. That's amazing for her to be able to do
I love that. Love if you could just real quick give sort of like an average client that you would see, or an average woman whose lost desire is in her 50s or whatever, maybe like how long has it been since she's felt like this, like what could she expect to see with working on it within a period of time. I know everybody's different and everybody's unique, but if you could give like a 10,000-foot view, because for a lot of people, like for me, I guess, and I think other people, like when you can hear a story and you're like, oh, there's something in that resonates, it helps you actually recognize there's something you need to work on or that you can work on to have a better life.
Absolutely.
Like sometimes you don't even recognize it.
Yeah, my students love case studies. That's how we teach. But one lady that comes to mind, and you're absolutely right. With everyone's different, but the 1,000-foot view, I can think of this one sweet, sweet soul who had worked in therapy industry. She wasn't a therapist; she's more of a case manager, but very serving, and had been through abusive relationships. I mean, starting early in her teens, first marriage, in a really good marriage right now in her 50s. But she had very much learned that appeasing and people pleasing was her way to be kept in the tribe, if you will, and be loved and serve. So her worth was very much tied to her performance, and she had a really hard time not performing. Really hard time. I mean, she came in, you could just see she was so exhausted and so almost an anxiety was just palatable. I could just feel her
Mhm.
anxiety. As we worked, one of the very first assignments I gave her, and she'd been in the business probably 25 years. And her entrance was that I've got to be able to do life different. I cannot carry on like this. And something interesting happens in our 50s. Our estrogen rich brain that helps not only with reproduction function, but brain function. In the 50s, it's not, it's not there so much anymore. So things we had tolerance for were like, what the? I'm not doing that. What is going on? So it's a really exciting time of life because we can really get rid of things that don't fit anymore. It's not a loss. It's an add. I love it. But I think she had hit that piece for her. She's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this. So we started, and I'm an EMDR therapist as well as I do internal family systems. So she came in as a therapy client, and there was some trauma we needed to work through, that big T stuff that really gets in the way. So as after 30 something years, you just get an instinct that before we can go further, we need to work on something here. So we worked on some trauma and love internal family systems, worked on her parts, and she was finally ready to do more of the coaching stuff where she could work on getting that system right. I mean, it's all tied together. It's hard to kind of tease it out, but the first assignment I gave her as she was getting re-embodied and really trying to make sense of things was for her to, and this was after the MDR, was for her to, for 10 minutes on a Saturday, to do nothing, to just be. Because being is where our intimacy lives. Being is where it's just a yummy place to be. And technology helps us do. We become very doing. She almost crawled out of her skin during that 10 minutes. I suggested, maybe try coloring, look at the leaf, whatever. She could not do it. At the next session, she was like, I could not do it. I literally thought I was going to die. It was the worst thing I ever felt. So here's the good news. She's able to do it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was able to delegate some things. She realized where she was over functioning. If I don't do it, who's going to do it? Good news. If we don't do it, someone will step into that vacuum. I know we don't believe it, but they will. An interesting thing that happened to her as that nervous system started thawing. Remember when mama used to open the refrigerator, that freezer? My mama, not y'all's, but would open the freezer and defrost and it would melt all day long. Anyway, maybe our refrigerator was really old, but she started defrosting and her feet started burning. So the cautionary tale there is our interoception, our awareness of our body, our awareness of what our internal world is doing is so gone when we've been dysregulated for so long. There could be some pain as we start coming back online. Just, I always send my gals to the doctor to rule out anything else because I am not a medical doctor, but the doctor was like this, and he was pretty cool. He said, I think this is something nervous system related. There's nothing
That's
going
good.
on here. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Her feet no longer burn. It was really sweet. Her daughter was concerned about her burning feet and got her some ice packs to wear on her feet and stuff. But
That's
she's now
wild.
able. Yeah, absolutely wild. I've had people have migraines come back on. I have one gal who had really bad IBS. That got a look, as we know as therapists, things get worse before they get better, and that's normal. Her IBS got a little worse. Now it's a non-issue. She doesn't even think about it anymore. I mean, our nervous system it rules all of our body parts. I
Yeah.
think we forget how important it is to have that regulated system. But here's what I love about her. She stuck with it. When it became scary, when it became hard, when it became so foreign, she was so determined to do this for herself. And she did. And now she colors on a pretty regular basis. She has a trampoline now. She'll kind of jump on. She's not having to do all the time. She's found a place where she can be. And she's also said, she said, I felt like my life force was just leaking away. But now it feels like almost like a homecoming, like
Mhm.
I can add things to my life that really feel good without feeling guilty about it. So that's a pretty typical client, I would say.
I love that. I read somewhere about how humans and like only a few, like maybe one other mammal or two other mammals actually have this stage of life for women. where they're not reproducing up until death. And it's like an interesting like place for knowledge transfer,
Yeah.
historically, and all of these, it's a shift in sort of like responsibilities and things like that. And it's facilitated by our like caregiving role, winding down. From what I read at least, but I just think that that's so interesting, but we can't do that if we're dysregulated. Like we don't have that knowledge to pass down. We're passing down more dysregulation most likely if we're not getting that under control. So I think that it's so cool how it all ties together and how what a cool part of life this is to be embraced and additive for women. I love that.
It's a wonderful time of life, and we are alive. I am so lucky to be 63 in 2026. I can have my hormones replaced. I have good medical care. I think of my grandmother who was born in 1913. She had a very different experience at 63. Even my precious mom, who's 86 now, she chose not to replace hormones. I mean, I can see it's a time to embrace life and show up bigger and better than ever before. And exercise is so important. Move. I just posted yesterday a post on what an hour walk can do. And I wish I was smart enough to remember what all I said, but I do remember that by the end of that hour, you are metabolizing better. You're into fat burning. Your brain has processed all kinds of thoughts that need to be processed. I mean, you're way more embodied and regulated at the end of that walk. And I've been a group exercise instructor since Jane Fonda. I started with her, if you will. And I used to think I had to kill myself. If I wasn't dripping wet, I hadn't done anything. It's not true. I get a bead of sweat, that's good, but I can walk for an hour and I get the same wonderful workout. But I think movement is really important for any time of life, but especially as we age. Mobility is so important for that. So we can enjoy
Especially
romance,
for all
right?
that fun bedroom stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's a lot harder without mobility.
I
Not
have learned we have to
impossible,
stretch. Not impossible, but we do have to stretch now. If we're like, okay, let's stretch and let's go.
I love that. I love that. One of the taglines or phrases I saw that you had that really I think resonated with me was you were tamed, not broken. Could you maybe unpack that a little bit before I know we're running a little long, but could you unpack that for us before we have to wrap up?
Absolutely. And I can unpack it in a technology kind of way.
Love it.
I think technology has been the most efficient taming mechanisms that have been built that doesn't feel like oppression, right? We don't feel oppressed, but we just feel more productive, but we are tethered to everything we don't. I mean, like, I don't want to think about work over the weekend, but if I have a faculty member text me, I'm like, oh my God, there's a problem. I better do something. So that tamed piece is we have been not only through technology, but we have been told over years and years and years your productivity is tied to your worth, so you better be productive. If you want to serve, well, we've learned to appease, and please. Some of us have those people-pleasing tendencies that really tend to get in the way when we try to set a boundary because we honestly believe we're going to die. Like, oh, I'm really going to die. We're not. It's just that nervous system reacting to that saber-toothed tiger. But through trying to serve others and take care of our families and build a career, we've really been tamed to do what is expected of us. But reclamation, the biggest reclamation we can do, claiming ourselves, is to regulate that nervous system, to have capacity that we can work like we need to work, but also we've learned to have capacity in that nervous system to save what we need to save for us so that we can soften and have beautiful intimacy in the bedroom, whatever that might look like, just that connection, that I talk a lot about tantric stuff too, because it's that softening and just being together. If orgasm comes or not, that's fine. But just holding that space for yourself and not feeling guilty about it. So often we women feel guilty if we put ourselves on the to-do list. The myth that we can't pour from an empty cup is so untrue. We do it all the time and we become that empty cup. So reclaiming yourself is like, I'm not going to be that empty cup. I'm filling myself. And I'm not going to be tamed. I'm going to be as wild as I possibly can. And I'm going to enjoy that.
I love that. real quick before we go, I know that you've got a course coming up.
I do. I do have a course coming up. I'm excited about it. I shifted the name just a little bit because that's how I am. I'm not tamed.
Right? You're
But
wild. I like it.
my husband calls me his pet raccoon because I'm into everything, but in a loving way, in a loving way. But it's called Alive, and it's a way to reconnect with your desire and your pleasure and feel fully alive. I mean, think about that. Fully alive. That is such a yummy, yummy place to feel. So it's a 28-day nervous system regulation. I laugh because what we said earlier, but it really is about somatic psychology, chakra psychology, all blended together to help this beautiful soul feel fully alive and show up with no apologies.
Very, very. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a super interesting conversation. I know our listeners are going to enjoy it as much as I have. And Tony looks like she has.
Yep.
Anybody, drop your comments if you've got comments. We're going to put all of Julie's contact information in our show notes. So if you want to reach out to her, sign up for her course, check out her website, all of that fun stuff. Also, a reminder, Tony's book is coming out in November, so get your pre-orders. We got the link for that in the show notes. And if you haven't, which I wouldn't know why you haven't, like and subscribe. And stick a comment out there. I like to comment back. So I hope everybody has a great week. And thank you so much, Julie. And Tony, I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.